You hear the music. Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Robinson, and welcome to another exciting edition of the League Wraparound. This is the program that gets you caught up on anything and everything happening around the NFL. Coming up on this edition of the program, we'll preview Week 16's most important games, including Thursday Night Football between the Denver Broncos and the Los Angeles Chargers. Plus, we have your Week 16 game picks. Also, we have the latest on some key injuries, and we also have a player who was awesome in college football and someone that he left a mark during his time in the NFL. He makes his return to college football. So again, welcome to the program, everybody. We're winding down on the NFL regular season, and I just want to say on behalf of my family to yours, we'd like to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas and be safe out there and have fun with your family, or if you just want a day for you to relax, or however you enjoy your holidays. Again, from me to you, just to wish you a very Merry Christmas. All right, before we preview Week 16's most important games in the NFL, let's recap Week 15's most important games in the NFL. Thursday Night Football was an interesting game, a low-scoring affair between the Los Angeles Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams would beat the Niners 12-6. Unfortunately, we'll get more into details about controversy in that game involving a linebacker. But the Rams would beat the 49ers. Final score, 12-6. We also had the Miami Dolphins take on the Houston Texans. The Texans handled their business, beating the Dolphins 20-12. The Washington Commanders took on the New Orleans Saints. First half was all Washington. The Saints made a comeback in the second half. They had a chance to win the game, but Spencer Rattler's two-point conversion attempt to Juwan Johnson, it failed. Commanders hold on to beat the Saints 20-19. The Buffalo Bills took on the Detroit Lions in what may be a preview of this year's Super Bowl, an offensive showdown between quarterbacks Josh Allen and Jared Goff. But it was Josh and the Bills that would win this one. Final score, 48-42. In the Battle of Pennsylvania, we had the Pittsburgh Steelers go up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith and company put all of that stuff to bed about the passing game. The Eagles, they showed up and they showed out in the passing attack. Eagles would beat the Steelers 27-13. Sunday Night Football saw the Green Bay Packers take on the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith suffered an injury, did not return to the game. It didn't matter. Green Bay, from start to finish, they looked great. Packers beat the Seahawks 30-13. We had the Monday Night Football doubleheader between the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings handled their business. Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones, Jordan Addison, can't forget about Justin Jefferson. They all made big contributions. Vikings beat the Bears 30-12. And then we had the second game of the doubleheader with the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. Tight game, close game. Kirk Cousins was decent in this game, but Falcons hold on to beat the Raiders. Final score, 15-9. And those were your scores from Week 15's most important games in the NFL. All right, so that takes care of that. Now it's time for my top three storylines. I want to start off talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. So for the Philadelphia Eagles, the week before, A.J. Brown was asked in a post-game press conference, what do you think is wrong with the offense right now? He said, passing. And then Jalen Hurts, in his post-game press conference, he was asked about the passing game, and Jalen just said, point blank period, we're winning. That's all that matters. We're winning, we're getting the job done, and we're on to the next opponent, which was Pittsburgh. So all week long, media, fans, people were curious to find out about not just the relationship between, or the friendship between Jalen and AJ, but most importantly, how the passing game would come through against such a powerful defense like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, the game happened. Jalen Hurts passed for close to 300 yards. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith Both receivers went over 100 yards. They handled their business in this and then some. You know, Saquon Barkley got his in too, but this game was really to prove a point, not just to the NFL, not just to media, but the fans out there that the passing game is still here. And it hasn't been there this year, and rightfully so. When you get a high-quality running back like Saquon Barkley, you know the numbers are going to dip, and they expected that. We've seen the dip tremendously in the Eagles' passing game this year. They're like close, they're like not last, but they're like next to last in the NFL currently in pass offense. But they showed up against a talented Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Jalen was able to make plays not only with his arm, but with his legs as well. A.J. Brown was able to get separation from that tight Pittsburgh secondary. Touchdown. Devontae Smith played great. I said Devontae Adams. I'm sorry. Devontae Smith played great in this game as well. He was able to get separation from the secondary. He got a touchdown as well. So, for the moment, Jalen, A.J., Devontae, head coach Nick Sirianni, offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, they were all on one page, at least for this game. Will we see the passing game continue to flourish towards the end of the season? I think it's possible, but you cannot forget about Saquon Barkley. I mean, what a talented, not just running back, what a talented player he is as a whole, but at least for the time being, the Philadelphia Eagles told everybody to be quiet when they took care of their business, beating the Pittsburgh Steelers and saying that there were no issues at this time in regards to the passing attack. My second storyline is going to be the San Francisco 49ers. So the 49ers are fighting for their playoff lives. They remain in the playoff hunt, but their chances of getting in the playoffs are slim to none. And then to make matters worse, not only are you dealing with injuries and players that have had issues off the field dealing with children, but you had Devondre Campbell, the field. In the middle of the third quarter, the team was already down several linebackers. The team was very short on linebackers. Dre Greenlaw just returning from an Achilles injury. Dre had to sit out several plays because he was having soreness in his knee. And you also had another linebacker that was injured, D. Winters. Devondre was asked to go into the game. Head coach Kyle Shanahan asked Devondre to go into the game. He refused to go into the game and just grabbed his helmet, left the sidelines, and walked back to the locker room. I mean, that is unheard of. I mean, come on. You know your team needed you. You were already short, not just at the linebacker position, but also you're short in a lot of positions with key injuries to players like Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, and Fred Warner playing all season long with a broken ankle. And then you've got Jordan Mason, the backup running back on injured reserve. Isaac Guerrero playing hurt in this contest. Come on, bro. This is unnecessary. Your team needed you the most. This is where they really needed you. This is an opportunity for you to make yourself known, state your claim, and be a part of that 53-man roster. Refusing to go into a game over something petty, like not getting the starting job. You knew Dre Greenlaw was coming back. You knew he was coming back. Dre had played in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs back in February, and, you know, it's a business. Football, just like any other occupation, is a business. You have to accept the business for what it is, whether you like it or not. And as a result of that, the 49ers have suspended Campbell for 3 games, and I think that was the right move, man. You just don't go out and just, you know, your coach is telling you to go in the game and do a job where you're already short at a position. You just don't do that. You don't. If your supervisor at any other job is asking you to do a job and you just say, no, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. Consequences are going to be, right? You'll be read the riot act and you'll be given a pink slip. And you just don't do that. Come on, Devondre. come on, man. You know, I hope he can bounce back from this. I really hope he does bounce back from this, and maybe, another team or somebody will take a chance on him. I don't know if the 49ers will have him back in that locker room, at least not in the foreseeable future. And for my last storyline is going to be Patrick Mahomes. So Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs, as this show is airing, 13-1, defending champions, defending back-to-back champions. Yeah, the Chiefs, they're the number one seed currently in the AFC, and number one seed this year. They have not played like a defending back-to-back Super Bowl champions this year. The Chiefs, all of the games that they've won this year have been won by 1 point, by 2 points, by 3 points. It's been all of these close games, these nail-biters. It's been ridiculous. And then, not only are they winning these close games, but to make matters worse, Mahomes suffers an ankle injury in the contest against the Cleveland Browns. The diagnosis is that Patrick suffered a high ankle sprain. If there's any good news to that, is that X-rays were negative. He participated in practice during the week and walked through, and is going to be ready for this week's game against the Houston Texans. My honest opinion, I think that Mahomes should sit out these last 3 games and let Carson Wentz do his thing. But that's just me, though. Carson Wentz is no scrub. Carson Wentz had some solid seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles. The year the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, if Wentz had not gotten hurt, he most likely would have won the league MVP. But Carson Wentz is not a scrub. Carson Wentz is somebody that can play. He's got credentials, but the news out of Kansas City is that Mahomes had the high ankle sprain, and he was being monitored during the whole week, and he's considered week to week. X-rays were negative, and he's gone through practice. He's going through practice this week, and if it looks like Patrick may push himself to play in this game against the Texans. But again, it's been a strange and crazy year for the Kansas City Chiefs. As I stated earlier, yeah, they are back-to-back defending Super Bowl champions, but they just haven't played like it this year. They haven't really had that knockout game this year, and they've struggled a lot against opponents that it should have been a cakewalk. But as they say in the NFL, any given Sunday, or better yet, any given Thursday, or any given Saturday, or any given Monday. All right, that takes care of my top 3 storylines. And again, just some more news to pass along to you. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if you remember him, he was a former teammate of Patrick Mahomes with the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, Edwards-Helaire won a national championship with the LSU Tigers. Some of his teammates were Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. Well, Edwards-Helaire was released by the Chiefs this week, and he was signed to the New Orleans Saints practice squad. So Edwards-Helaire, he's a Louisiana native. He grew up in Baton Rouge, and now will be headed about an hour and 20 minutes to New Orleans to be on the practice squad for the New Orleans Saints. Edwards-Helaire was very influential in helping the Chiefs win 2 Super Bowls during his time in Kansas City. But again, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was released by the Kansas City Chiefs and has signed with the New Orleans Saints practice squad. And somebody making a return to college football, Michael Vick. That's right. Michael Vick will be the new head coach of the HBCU Norfolk State Spartans. So Michael, you know about him having a great college career at Virginia Tech, and then, of course, NFL, Atlanta Falcons, Philadelphia Eagles, also stops with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Jets. And Michael Vick will transition nicely into the world of sports broadcasting, working for various media outlets. But Michael Vick, again, no head coaching experience, but accepted the head coaching position at Norfolk State University. So congratulations to Michael Vick. And again, the Deion Sanders effect. A lot of former NFL players either coaching at HBCUs or coaching at maybe Division I or Division II schools. And certainly Michael Vick, he's going to have his work cut out for him. He's going to be replacing former head coach Dawson Odoms. Odoms was fired by Norfolk State after several seasons at the university. But again, Michael Vick is the new head coach at Norfolk State University. All right, now it's time to preview Week 16's most important games in the NFL. We have a Thursday night showdown between the Denver Broncos and the Los Angeles Chargers. So let's start off with the Chargers and Buccaneers last week. The Chargers currently have the number one defense in the NFL, but Baker Mayfield and that Buccaneers offense just beat that defense up and just tore them up and just beat them down from pillar to post. And if you know the competitive nature of head coach Jim Harbaugh, he's not going to let that happen 2 weeks in a row. Justin Herbert didn't play his best game. The team didn't play their best game as a whole, and they looked to get retribution with another home game against their longtime rival, Denver Broncos. So for the Broncos, they had a home game. They beat the Indianapolis Colts and Bo Nix. I know the jury is still out on it could go neck and neck in terms of who will win this year's Offensive Rookie of the Year. Jaden Daniels most likely will win that, but Bo Nix is very close. He's right there. He's about neck and neck with Jaden. And Sean Payton, strong consideration for Head Coach of the Year honors. When I think of possible Head Coach of the Year candidates, Kevin Stefanski from the Vikings, Mike Tomlin from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also, you could put Andy Reid from the Kansas City Chiefs, Nick Sirianni from the Philadelphia Eagles, Dan Campbell from the Detroit Lions, and also you can add Sean Payton from the Denver Broncos. It's an amazing job what Coach Payton has done, and also a John Harbaugh from the Baltimore Ravens. But consider that the Broncos had to have salary cap issues, not this year, but next year due to releasing Russell Wilson and that massive contract that he had. You talk about working with what you have and making it work. That's what Sean Payton has done this year with the Denver Broncos. Rookie quarterback Bo Nix, and that's one of the best defenses in the league, man. Denver has just been on point. I mean, they got some dogs on the defensive side like PS2, Patrick Surtain the second, just to name a few. So Broncos and Chargers, they go back. It's a rivalry that has gone on for decades, since their days in the AFL, and then continuing on throughout the decades. And you know about players like John Elway and also players like Stan Humphries, just to name a few, with the Chargers. And it's going to continue with this current chapter in the rivalry between the Broncos and the Chargers. We've got Bo Nix, we've got Justin Herbert, we've got both teams with awesome defenses. This is going to be great on Thursday Night Football with the Denver Broncos versus the Los Angeles Chargers. The Houston Texans will go up against the Kansas City Chiefs. So, as I mentioned earlier, what a week it's been for the Chiefs. Another victory, not necessarily a landslide, but they were able to beat the Cleveland Browns. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes suffered a high ankle sprain in the victory last week against Cleveland. X-rays were negative. Mahomes has been a full participant in practice this week. It looks as though he's going to play in this game against the Texans. I don't think he should play in this game. I think Carson Wentz should get the start. But, hey, as they say, there's a reason why Patrick Mahomes is a champion, right? And Patrick, you know, he's going to tough it out. And, you know, the organization, the strength, the training team, whatever they need to do to try to get him ready for the game against the Texans. So Patrick had the high ankle sprain, full participant in practice this week. It looks as though he's going to play against Houston. And as for the Texans, coming off of their bye week, big win over the Miami Dolphins. They needed this victory. C.J. Stroud having a nice sophomore season, not the runaway rookie year that he had last year, but he's still playing effectively, still playing at a high level. And again, the Texans, They're in the playoff hunt. The Texans want to have a playoff game in January, but they're going to have to head to Arrowhead and try to take down the big dogs, take down the back-to-back Super Bowl champions. And this should be a fun game. We've got two quarterbacks that are playing well right now, Patrick Mahomes, C.J. Stroud. This should be a fun one at Arrowhead with the Houston Texans going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Pittsburgh Steelers take on the Baltimore Ravens. So for Baltimore, coming off of the bye week and having a massive victory over the New York Giants, Lamar Jackson, an MVP candidate this year. He's already won 2 league MVPs. He's got an opportunity to win another one this year. Derrick Henry played at a high level. The defense played well against this game against the Giants. Even though Baltimore's defense has not been the best this year, it's really been the offense. Not just the offense, but specifically the passing attack. I can't believe I'm actually saying that with Baltimore offense. You know, when you hear about the Ravens for decades, it's always been defense. But this year, it's been the opposite. It's been about the offense for Baltimore. And they've got an intense rivalry game going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC North. So for the Steelers, losing a tough game last week to the in-state rival Philadelphia Eagles, Russell Wilson looks to bounce back from this game. The Steelers, bothered by injuries, T.J. Watt suffered an ankle injury in this game against the Eagles. X-rays were negative. It looks as though T.J. is going to play in this game against the Ravens. George Pickens still hampered by a hamstring injury. His return for this game is doubtful, but no matter the injuries, the game is always going to be intense regardless. The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, these two have gone at it for decades, and this is a continuation of the rivalry between these two rivals. You know, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, these two have been playing at a high level this year, and they look to continue to play at a high level with the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Baltimore Ravens. The Philadelphia Eagles square off against the Washington Commanders. So for the Eagles, what a drama-filled week it was. As I mentioned earlier, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, you know, I mean, the drama surrounding the passing attack, the pass offense, all week long, people paid attention to those two gentlemen specifically. Will they be on their best behavior on the sideline? Will they be on their best behavior on the field? Well, they were on their best behavior times 10 because Jalen Hurts passed for close to 300 yards. Not only did A.J. Brown get over 100 yards receiving, but Devontae Smith got over 100 yards receiving as well. And then the Eagles' defense, they balled out as well. I mean, the Eagles, one of the top defenses in the league this year. As for the Washington Commanders, they pulled off a close one in New Orleans against the Saints. Jaden Daniels did what Jaden Daniels did best, right? Throwing and running. Terry McLaurin, one of the most, not only one of the most underrated receivers in the league, one of the most underrated players in the league. Terry McLaurin is outstanding, and him and Jaden Daniels, they have a nice combination. And I'm excited to see what these two can do for years to come. But Philly and Washington, this is a rivalry that's gone on for decades. NFC East, it's going to be chilly in the DMV. It will land over Maryland, to be specific, where the Commanders play. You know it's going to be a good one. I mean, it's always been some great games in this rivalry between the Eagles and the Commanders. So we got Philadelphia and Washington. This should be an exciting one. The Minnesota Vikings will square off against the Seattle Seahawks. So let's start off with the Vikings. Red hot Monday night against the Chicago Bears. Sam Darnold, MVP candidate. Aaron Jones played at a high level. Jordan Addison is a nice compliment to Jordan Jefferson. And what can you say about Jordan Jefferson, right? JJ, when is he not balling? When is he never not balling, right? Jordan Jefferson making the tough catches, making the circus catches, running routes, and just putting defensive backs to shame. As for the Seattle Seahawks, embarrassed on Sunday night in the hands of the Green Bay Packers, Geno Smith suffered an injury, did not return to the game. Sam Howell was his replacement. He looked horrible out there. I don't want to say the word I want to say, but he didn't play his best game against that tough Green Bay Packer offense. But Geno Smith was a full participant this week in practice, and it looks as though Geno is going to be ready for the game against the Minnesota Vikings. And rightfully so, because the Seahawks, for the moment, are in first place in the NFC West, but the Los Angeles Rams are coming, and they're getting hot at the right time. Arizona and San Francisco, they're still in the hunt. So for Seattle, if they can't win the remaining games they have on the schedule, they at least need to win at least 2 out of the next 3. But Minnesota has just been red hot. And, I mean, nobody's been able really to cool them off all season long. And this should be a fun one in the Pacific Northwest between the Minnesota Vikings and the Seattle Seahawks. The San Francisco 49ers will square off against the Miami Dolphins. So for the 49ers, what an embarrassing week it has been for them. Devondre Campbell, the whole foolishness that went down Thursday night, refusing to go into the game, takes his helmet, leaving the sideline, going into the locker room, suspended 3 games by the 49ers. And then on top of that, San Francisco loses on Thursday night to the Rams. So it's just been a strange and a weird year for the 49ers. And on top of that, the injuries to their key players being very short at certain positions. It's just been, you talk about the Super Bowl hangover in full force for the 49ers. It's been that way. And as for the Miami Dolphins, losing a tough one to the Houston Texans, Miami, similar to San Francisco, they're in the playoff hunt as well. Their playoff hopes are still alive, but it's slim to none. This is a must-win for both teams. Both teams, hey, they're going to have it on their mind. Injuries, no injuries. These two are going to have it on their mind. They're going to be ready to play at all costs. Both of these teams, they need this game to keep their playoff hopes alive. Brock Purdy, he's got a lot riding on this game, not just in terms of a playoff spot, but what his future holds with the team about getting a big contract extension. For the Miami Dolphins, Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill and company, the Dolphins, they want this one, and they're going to have to handle their business, which should be in an exciting game between the San Francisco 49ers and the Miami Dolphins. Monday Night Football, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go up against the Dallas Cowboys. So for Dallas, their playoff hopes are still alive as well. They're going to have to win out the rest of the way in order for them to have a chance to be considered. Cooper Rush and company played an effective game, beating the Carolina Panthers. Rico Dowdle ran the ball effectively. CeeDee Lamb has been the one consistent player for the Cowboys all season long. As for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, don't sleep on the Bucs. Tampa Bay, they're in the playoff hunt. Baker Mayfield playing at a high level. Baker and that offense, they shredded the Chargers defense. Coming into the game, the Chargers defense was number 1 in the NFL. Well, Baker Mayfield and that Tampa Bay offense had news for them, and they decimated the Chargers in that game. So you've got Tampa Bay in the mix in terms of the playoffs. They're right at the top of the NFC South. Dallas is fighting for their playoff lives, and this should be a good game on Sunday Night Football with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Monday Night Football, the New Orleans Saints square off against the Green Bay Packers. So let's start off with New Orleans. Tough loss to the Washington Commanders last week. Jake Haener got the starting job. He failed to meet expectations. Spencer Rattler gets into the game, and he gives that offense new life. MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, making plays. Kendre Miller running the ball at a high level. I mean, it was a tale of two halves with that Commanders and Saints game. The first half was all Washington. Second half, New Orleans took over, but the failed two-point conversion attempt with Rattler attempting a pass to Jawan Johnson, that didn't go through. Washington winds up beating the Saints. So the Saints are in the playoff hunt, but their chances are really slim to none. But they're looking to finish off the year on a strong note as they head to a very cold and Arctic Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin, to take on the Green Bay Packers. So for Green Bay, dominant victory over the Seattle Seahawks last Sunday night. Jordan Love played well. Josh Jacobs, boy, we talk about a lot of MVP candidates. Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, but you could put Josh Jacobs in the mix as well. I mean, Josh, as he said in an interview this week, he said that this is the most fun he has had playing in the NFL. He's relaxed, he's confident, and he really likes the roster and the team that he's a part of in Green Bay. So it's going to be right before Christmas. You know, hey, Packer fans, they show up. Rain, sleet, snow, hail, sunshine, whatever. And the New Orleans Saints, they hope to spoil the Christmas party in Green Bay. Hopefully to bring some of that Cajun spice to the Midwest and maybe spoil the plans of the Cheeseheads, as we've got an interesting game on Monday night with the New Orleans Saints going up against the Green Bay Packers. All right, now it's time for my game of the week. My game of the week is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Washington Commanders. When you think of Philly and Washington, well, specifically when you think of Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., they're both connected by I-95 along the eastern seaboard. I-95, if you're coming from D.C., or should I say the DMV, I-95 north takes you to Philadelphia. And reverse it. I-95 south takes you from Philly down to D.C. or the DMV. Commanders, Eagles. This has been one of the most heated rivalries in the history of the NFL. I mean, a lot of great players have made up this rivalry with the likes of Randall Cunningham and Reggie White and Jerome Brown and also Brian Dawkins, Michael Vick, Deshaun Jackson, Jeremy Maclin, LaShawn Shady McCoy. Also, you've got players that have made up this rivalry on the Washington side as well. Joe Theismann, Mark Rippon, Doug Williams. Oh, man, the posse, Art Monk, Gary Clark, Ricky Sanders. Also, Dexter Manley, Charles Mann, Darryl Green. I mean, these two teams have been going at it for decades, man. And this game is going to be an awesome game in the continued rivalry between Philadelphia and Washington. You've got two running backs that are playing at such a high level. Saquon Barkley, MVP candidate for the Eagles. Brian Robinson Jr. for the Commanders, who's been very underrated this year and gives Washington's offense an edge, gives them a step up. You've got teams with caliber wide receivers. For the Eagles, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. For Washington, Lauren. Man, these two teams are going to have a showdown. Defensively, Washington's defense has been solid this year, led by Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu. But Philly's defense has just been outstanding. Jalen Carter, Darius Slay. My goodness, man. The Eagles' defense currently top 5. The Commanders' defense is somewhere in the mix as well, but both teams on both sides of the ball have played well this year. And, of course, the quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels. These two are going to have some intense games, I believe, for years to come. And this should be a fun one. This should be an exciting one. The first game was a good one in Philadelphia when they played in the middle of November, which was 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, with the Eagles winning 26-18. But I think with everything at stake, with Philadelphia getting the opportunity to become the number 1 seed, and with the Commanders with the opportunity to possibly move up and get a higher playoff spot, the stakes are definitely going to be high, and this is going to be, I think it's going to be an exciting game that could come down to which quarterback has the most firepower and which quarterback is going to make the least mistakes. Will it be Jalen Hurts or will it be Jaden Daniels? We'll find out. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders, my game of the week. All right, before we get on out of here, I want to give you my picks on who I think will win Week 16's most important games. Thursday night football, the Denver Broncos versus the Los Angeles Chargers. I like Denver to win. The Houston Texans go up against the Kansas City Chiefs. I like Kansas City to win. The Pittsburgh Steelers go up against the Baltimore Ravens. I like Baltimore to win. Philadelphia Eagles versus the Washington Commanders. I think this is going to be a very close game, but I like the Eagles to win. The Minnesota Vikings go up against the Seattle Seahawks. I like Minnesota to win. The San Francisco 49ers go up against the Miami Dolphins. I like the 49ers to win. Sunday night football, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Dallas Cowboys. I like the Buccaneers to win. Monday night football, the New Orleans Saints go up against the Green Bay Packers. I like Green Bay to win. So again, my picks are Denver, Kansas City, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Minnesota, San Francisco, Tampa Bay, Green Bay. And that's it. And that's going to do it for another exciting edition of the program. And once again, from my family to yours, I'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Till next time, everybody, so long, you take care, and enjoy the games.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the channel. Remember to click like, share, and subscribe, and thank you for watching.